What's going on, everybody? It is another episode of What the Truck. I am your host, Malcolm Harris. It is Wednesday, October 15th. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. What's going on, everybody? Y'all, we have a jam-packed show today, and it is a star-studded lineup. Of course, it's going to be led off by headlines. My man John Kingston is actually going to be in the building, but then also we're going to have the road ahead, which is going to be Beth Young for On Deck. She is going to be here from Velociti. She is going to be speaking on behalf of transportation, tech, and innovation. I mean, she's done so much in the tech space when it comes to driving adoption across the industry. I think you guys are going to get a lot of value out of that. And Trent Tallow is going to be joining us as well. Now, Trent is the CEO and founder of Forever Freight Broker. All right, so Trent, he is doing a lot in this space, and he is stirring up quite a bit to content on all platforms. Excited for you guys to hear from Trent. Excited for you guys to hear from Beth. Excited for you guys to hear from John. But before we get into all that, today's show is sponsored by Descartes MacroPoint.
By shippers and preferred by brokers. Descartes MacroPoint is the industry's best transportation visibility and risk monitoring platform. Deliver confidence with real-time insights and automated alerts to keep freight moving and your customers informed. Less risk, more connectivity. That's Descartes MacroPoint. Visibility you can trust.
Every load matters when it comes to your reputation. That's why the world's top companies rely on Descartes MacroPoint for visibility and risk monitoring. Keep customers confident, freight moving, and operations in sync. Descartes MacroPoint, visibility that you can trust. All right, y'all, let's dive into headlines. Today, the news you need to know fast. First, Chapter 11 filings in transportation. Y'all, this is nuts. Count them. Not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 Chapter 11 filings in transportation in October's first 2 weeks. This is absolutely insane. And to break this down, I wanted to go straight to the source. So, of course, joining us now is John Kingston, editor-at-large at FreightWaves. He's going to be joining us virtually. John, you're looking good, man. What's going on?
Well, I took a little trip through Pacer. You know, Pacer is the database of really the entire federal court system.
Yeah.
Search for bankruptcies and Chapter 11 bankruptcies. And I mean, I could have gone back forever. But I just went back 2 weeks and I found 5 of them in 2 weeks. Really 5 since the first day of October. Now, I don't have a database that says how 5 compares to most times, but I've been in there before, and 5 does seem like a lot in 2 weeks. I will say that one of them is an Amazon direct service provider, so not really a trucking company per se, but it's still involved in transportation. Is this really shocking? We know it's a terrible market. We know that the capacity overhang has been whittling away for a long time, probably not fast enough for some people's taste. And maybe there's this sort of big, I think the word is denouement, when everything suddenly builds up to some big moment. So the companies that we found were, I'd say, medium-sized to small. You can go into the Pacer, the PHMSA database, what they call the SAFER site, and you can see how many power units they have. So the biggest one we found was GEC Transport Solutions. They're in Pharr, Texas, Pharr, which is right across the border from Mexico, from the Reynosa area. And they had 70 power units. That's what we've got. We did hear from their attorney that they're still in business. They're still operating. Obviously, if you're going to go to Chapter 11, the idea here is that you reorganize and you can stay in business. Found a company in Arkansas, Propel Trucking. They have 32 power units, and then going down the list, R&R Transport and Logistics, which is not the R&R that is based near Pittsburgh, which is a much bigger carrier. It took me a while to figure that out as I was going through things. Okay, they have 20 power units. Then there was a small one, G1 Transport. They're in Georgia. They only had 5 units. They're so small that their list of creditors in the bankruptcy filing was written out by hand in a pen. And then Styx Logistics, like the band, they're at Amazon DSP. They're in Reno, Nevada, and they don't list power units because they don't have Class 8 trucks. 30 power units, but those power units are presumably vans. So as I said, I don't have a firm mathematical database saying that this is a larger number than usual, but based on my own experience, it is a larger number than usual. So, we've been covering bankruptcies all along. We find that there's a lot of interest in it, like it or not. And there was so far, based on what we've seen here, there's a lot of interest in this. Unfortunately, I guess there's an element of there before the grace of God go I, and people want to know when others go out of business because it has a ripple effect. Because first of all, let me say something. These companies, as far as we know, are not out of business. Okay, and we know that in the largest case, GEC, they are most definitely still in business. But people like to know when others are in trouble because it could affect them, the service that they get, or it could affect them as a competitor, maybe on the road to going out of business. I will say that I also said, well, let me look at Chapter 7 filings. The problem with Pacer is that the Chapter 7 filings also have individuals. Like if you or me went bankrupt, we'd file for Chapter 7, and it's very depressing to look at that because the numbers just over a couple of days are in the thousands, and they're almost overwhelmingly all people. And these are people who just came to the end of their road financially, and they turned to Chapter 7 to get out from under crushing debts for whatever reason. Medical, maybe they went too crazy on their credit card, lost a job, whatever. And just looking at all those names and wondering what the stories are behind those names, it can really wear on you. It really does. I will say this, when you're just looking at a couple of days worth and there are thousands of entries, finding companies that went Chapter 7 is kind of hard. You just kind of run out of time looking at all those names. We're going to keep our eye on the Chapter 11 filings, though. Those are a lot more manageable.
John Kingston again, editor at large and freight insider here at FreightWaves. John, thank you so much for hopping on and kind of breaking that down and giving us some context. Really appreciate it.
Looking forward to seeing you in Chattanooga next week, Malcolm.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a great time. Can't wait.
Okay, take care.
You as well. Thank you. Uh, Again, thank you so much to John for being able to break that down for us. I think that it was, for us, again, things that we always want to cover. We always want to be able to talk through. And speaking of this next story, Trucker Path Insurance. You guys know Trucker Path as a go-to app for parking, for fleet services, fuel, loads, things of that nature. They've now launched Trucker Path Insurance. So they're offering quick quotes, competitive rates, all these types of things when it comes to support. So the simplifying a process that's often complicated, slow, as well as expensive. So saw this article shared with me yesterday via Kaylee, and definitely wanted to make this on your radar as well. And transitioning, I know we've talked a lot about the Canada Post story this week. I do want to talk about it again really quickly. All right. The Canada Post have resumed operations after moving from national strikes to rolling strikes. So, what this means, again, there's mail parcels moving again. However, expect some delays. The goal is to reduce strain on postal workers while keeping deliveries flowing. So, if you ship to or from Canada or haul parcels, cross border work, all of that, this is definitely something to monitor. And then finally, I do want to talk a little about Alvi's. This piece I saw yesterday that was sent over to me is a pretty cool article. It's about a software provider. Alvi's just raised 40 million in Series B, led by RTP Global. They're using the funds to enhance their platform with AI and automation, helping fleets and brokers streamline operations, improve efficiency, and do things to push their organizations forward. So those are your quick headlines. I told you guys this is like a 2-minute offense because we have a lot to get to today on the show. And someone who is coming on again that I'm super excited to bring you guys, Beth Young with Velociti. Again, she helps companies amplify their ROI when it comes to technology, processes, procedures, and she is just awesome. And we had a great pre-call. I think this call is going to be even better though. Beth, can you hear me?
I sure can, and I hope you can hear me too.
I got you. I got you. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing great today. I woke up knowing that I was going to get on a podcast with you, so I got a fast workout in. I can run fast when I have something so exciting to look forward to, so maybe we should set these up weekly.
Definitely. I skipped the gym this morning because I wanted to make sure I had my P's and Q's done, but I'll get after it. If not tonight, I'll get the AM workout in tomorrow. So thank you so much for just being here. And before we get into the heavy stuff, I heard recently you took a mozzarella making class. Be honest with me. How did the cheese turn out?
Oh, so good. It is so easy. You would be a success in no time. We should do a
Okay.
live show. It takes about 30 minutes, but we could talk trucking in between sessions. So you kind of have to do a lot of heating and then a lot of waiting. So it was great. It was good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You're actually an influencer when it comes to today's show name, believe it or not. So you'll see that, and well, you've already kind of seen it, but yeah, definitely mozzarella is going to play a theme in today's show. And rumor has it you're also a Spanish food connoisseur. From what we talked about, what's kind of the go-to or the hidden gem that you're currently very, very into right now?
Oh, octopus. Now, I know that
Oh
that's like a
wow.
very sensitive topic right now in our culture, but some documentaries came out on the octopus, and now as a result, a lot of people are hesitant to eat it. But done well, that is amazing.
That's
That's
awesome.
really
Well,
good.
I definitely need to expand my palate. I'm more of a chicken steak shrimp type of guy, but octopus, I'll put that on the list. And
Hey, you're down there in Tennessee. You get the best shrimp and grits. You get all sorts of good fried chicken, biscuits. Oh, yeah.
I don't have too many biscuits. That's why my hat's fitting a little weird right now. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But talk to us for those that are not familiar with Velocity. Give us a rundown. What do you do? Where do you sit, kind of within our space here in the supply chain world?
Well, great question. So I was fortunate to be brought on to the Velocity team a couple years ago. And one of the things that I've known about the company and the brand for quite a while, they have been in business for 30 years, is that they're really the team that goes ahead and plugs everything in. So they connect everything inside of the supply chain on the fleet side or the facility side. So Velocity cut its teeth in the fleet side, then got a lot bigger around that ELD mandate. So there's a lot of technologies that have to be installed on fleets. So that's where we spent a lot of time. And now we're starting to see that shift into more of a camera sort of solution that's going into trucks. Smart trailers are becoming very trendy. And then finding ways to really support drivers in the best way possible, from whether it's moving certain hotel loads onto batteries so that that engine doesn't need to cycle all night and the driver can get a good night's sleep. What I say often to kind of summarize what Velocity does is we help give companies visibility. So if that's visibility into their safety programs for what's on the road, whether that's through cameras or whatever else it might be, we help support that. If it's giving visibility into a facility, track, trace, monitor, find, those are other things that we do too. So if we can help companies dial in some precision around the technologies that exist on the market today and help them become more efficient, whether it's through I said cameras on the fleet. It could be cameras on side of forklifts, and I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit later. Also, within the facility itself, it could be increasing connectivity because, as you and I both know, everything is a connected device now. Some of these warehouses and facilities are just an older asset. And so we can bring in that technology resource. So I've used the word technology several times. We are agnostic to any type of technology that's on the market, but if it exists, we've likely touched it. And so working with Velocity and partnering with what we can do helps someone expedite their time to launch because we can already identify any sort of miss or lessons learned in a deployment. So there's some
Now,
highlights.
Beth, I appreciate honestly those highlights, and I wanted because like three additional questions popped up, so I'm gonna pick one and stick with it. You've had a front row seat when it comes to companies really adopting technology. Walk us through the biggest changes, or really the biggest embrace when it comes to technologies with specific companies that you've worked with or around.
Oh, so that gives me a lot of examples, but I'll pick two. Um, Probably the first one that I'm seeing more adoption happen around is in some type of camera solution for pedestrian safety on
Okay,
forklifts.
nice.
There's, I think, before a forklift, if it's a part of a fleet, but people don't really think about it as a fleet asset necessarily. But those forklifts are running around facilities all the time, and now there has been a push from really driven from companies, which I always think is interesting and really inspiring versus regulation. But we're seeing a lot of companies that are really forward thinking around the safety of their facility put 360 cameras on. that let the driver, the operator of that forklift know what's behind them, what's around them. Also, wearables for the pedestrians that are in the warehouse so that they don't come in contact with a forklift at an unfortunate time. And then there's, of course, the assets with inside the warehouse that could be easily bumped into, ran over. So those are technologies that are becoming really popular. And my anticipation is in the next couple of years, we're going to see a lot more adoption of that already, but we're also going to see some autonomy of the lifts themselves. The nice thing is that a lot of the companies who are designing this technology have done it in a way that can retrofit on an existing machine. So we'll probably touch on sustainability, but I find that that's also really great because now a company doesn't need to go buy a whole new asset. They can oftentimes upfit it.
Now, specifically when it comes to innovation, you have telematics, AI, automation. Things are evolving and it's happening fast. What emerging technologies, though, are actually moving the needle right now from where you sit at Velocity?
Oh my goodness. So think about kind of like our XY plane that we have everything kind of moving forward, back, right, left.
Right.
Because of the internet and connected devices, what I'm seeing is, bear with me on the mental picture here, but we have this like level up of almost this Z plane. And so what to your question and the answer behind that, what I've started to notice is there's a lot greater need for devices to connect this way, forward, back, side to side, but everything has to feed up into something above them that makes sure everything works harmoniously. If that network isn't reliable, then the entire system underneath it that was just designed and built collapses. And so what I'm seeing happen in a lot of places is improved connectivity, better communication between devices, and then programs that exist on the back end that more human resources start to peek into. And now we have the data that will give us the insights into how we functionally deploy these solutions.
Now, velocity, it based off of how I perceive this and the stuff I've looked into, it works across a lot of different systems. So, bringing all these technologies together, how is this happening to make it seamless for operators that are actually within this system?
Oh, gosh. I mean, think about how exciting of a time we're living in right now,
Yeah.
where, we've done transportation. You've been in transportation for so long. We've seen it kind of evolve from simple things that we call simple today, the ELD mandate that happened a while ago. But as we essentially like start thinking through what are the next 36 months going to look like, I believe it's going to look completely different than today, the conversation that we're having now. If we look back 36 months ago, I don't know that there's that much difference. So, coming out of this post-COVID world where we're trying to figure out like what is going on in the freight market, that's been super clunky. There's no prescription for that. And there's really, unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, it's a good thing. There's really no history that we all can lean into to what we all did when this happened before. And so, as we're coming out of COVID, we're moving into a new buying behavior that's happening globally. Now, what are we going to do moving forward with the way that we are connecting all of our devices? Again, I think that is so important, and we're only going to see that adoption increase in pretty significant ways. I think we're going to see a lot more of a connected supply chain where one particular element of that kind of that entry point within the supply chain is tracked by the customer all the way through. And then by the time it gets to me and I'm cooking it at my home, or let's pick on mozzarella and not the octopus, since I think mozzarella is a little less uh, 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 activated. But
Okay.
by the time it shows up on my desk, or my kitchen counter, I might want to know exactly where that has been across the entire supply chain. So I think we're going
Right.
to see consumer behavior drive a lot of that visibility. The industry is going to have to step up to that. And then I also think we're going to see automation just explode. Like those people who are innovating inside automation elements, I think it's going to be really exciting. I don't think that this is something that's going to really take away jobs. I think it's going to transition jobs. That's really important to me. But I feel like those are some of the things that we're kind of seeing from the periphery now that we should all start to anticipate coming up later.
Now, beyond tech and operations and things that we've kind of really touched on, I want you to speak to best practices, right? When it comes to really creating efficiency and resiliency, specifically within, I would just say, distribution. How does that happen in terms of, again, efficiency, resiliency when it comes to this current state of distribution?
Oh gosh, we could go. I bet we could talk all day about this. I think that some of the best practices in this are the companies who get involved in kind of forecasting and road mapping what's ahead are the ones that are going to be really successful moving forward. When we hit the minimum levels of safety, of connectivity, of a kind of multifaceted communication within an organization. When we just scratch the surface of that, we're not that those companies are not the ones that are going to be really resilient when things happen. And that thing doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing. That thing that happens to the industry could be new devices that hit. It could be new regulation. It could be new policies that are internal. It could be a new technology solution that's now hit the market that will completely transform what we're doing inside transportation. And so, what I've noticed, again, like going back to your specific question around best practices, anytime that companies can come together and start to really focus on their technology roadmap ahead, because we all know that technology is not going anywhere, is probably just going to change a little bit about what that technology actually is, but it's not leaving. Like we're going to have technology forever, and it's only going to get more connected, faster, more precise, and then we're going to have to figure out what to do with that data.
With that data and this puzzle, workforce development is a real kind of, I would say, merger of this. Now, specifically from where you sit, how are teams building effectively while also keeping ahead of when it comes to these innovations and things that are happening on the tech side? How are these things marrying each other successfully?
Gosh, these workforce development programs and projects are pretty critical to what we
Yeah.
have going on today. This one always strikes a chord with me because I worked in tech education and I worked in healthcare before I came over to the transportation space. I was a healthcare administrator, so no one would want me to provide any sort of direct patient care. So on the healthcare side, I came out of school and I didn't even know that there was a trucking and logistics industry. I mean, I kind of knew about it, but I had no idea what it actually is. And what has been surprising to me since getting into it is how much area there is for innovation. And that's one of the main reasons why I got into the industry, especially leaving healthcare. That one's a little clunky for innovation. And then also looking at how to speak to all of the positions that are inside of the transportation, logistics, supply chain, trucking itself industry that a lot of people just simply don't know about. I think there could be a lot better messaging that goes into those particular fields. But gosh, I wish I knew when I was younger. That would be amazing. So, what I've seen some companies doing really, really well around the workforce is speaking to all of the jobs that exist. But I think we can take it a little step further. And while there's kind of been this trending and prevailing thought around like go find your purpose at your work,
Yeah.
one of the things that I think we don't spend enough time talking about is how purpose could be in adjusting generational poverty by some of these really great jobs that live inside the trucking industry. Maybe the job itself doesn't fill someone's bucket full, cup full of purpose to where it's overflowing, but on the back end of it, the way that this industry helps lift people into really successful jobs and positions is outstanding. And I think it's a message that I hope I have opportunity to scream from the mountaintops for the rest of my life because I'm just so passionate about that.
Well, Beth, you definitely have a platform here to scream from the mountaintops about that. And I want to switch lanes real quick and just touch on briefly sustainability because it's not just a buzzword anymore. I mean, this is driving strategy for different companies, specifically from Velocity. What are you excited most about your sustainable initiatives happening right now?
You're right, it's not a buzzword anymore. It's something that we all have to step up to. So
Oh yeah,
whether it's emissions around a particular fleet vehicle, or it's looking at the warehouse itself, like let's just pick on the warehouse itself. We're seeing so much automation that's going into warehouses now. We don't need to keep the lights on anymore. Like that automatically is a sustainability initiative that's getting a lot of traction. And there's companies who have these older assets, kind of referring back to the beginning of this conversation. Those older facility assets can be lifted to a place where now they can have automation, robotics inserted into their operations, and perhaps literally turn the lights off. That's just one of the areas in sustainability that I think is really important that we all start to talk about. And the nice thing is working with companies like Velocity, you can go in and ask questions because I think a lot of times we tend to not ask a question if we don't kind of know the answer. And we don't want to look silly and we don't want to act like we don't know what we're talking about or at least have a baseline knowledge. The nice thing about velocity is sometimes we don't have the information either, but one thing that we do have is a very connected network. So, behind all of the connectivity of the technology, we have connected relationships that can go in and help upfit any type of facility to really drive those sustainability initiatives. Same thing works on the trucking side. There's so many new technologies that are out there that help improve driver wellness, driver health, miles per gallon, the most efficient routes. As we start to see smart cities start to connect and come together, I think we're going to see some really amazing things between the city itself and the connected truck and trailer. Wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing that become mainstream. Certain communities are doing it now, but I think there's going to be a lot more adoption in there. Because if we can get through this traffic and congestion and construction that's happening everywhere, those are all good things that there's construction happening on our roadways, but it also creates massive delays where a truck or passenger vehicle is sitting there idling, waiting for their turn to go. Just seems like we could do that better.
absolutely. Beth, this is my last question before we get to our next guest. I mean, you've talked about a lot, but I want to talk about the future briefly. When it comes to, keeping your team aligned for what's ahead, but then also keeping folks ahead of the curve, what's something that you're doing at Velocity to ensure that this is happening? That, all right, teams are still aligned, but also we're still looking to innovate.
I'd say that probably the easiest way to like get engaged right away is to sit down with us and go through a technology audit. Like, let's start asking the questions like, what does current state look like? What does maybe the past look like? Because it does give a little context to where we are today. But what might be needed in the next 36 months, couple years, 3 years, 4 years from there? If you have a plan, you at least have something to kind of shoot arrows at as time goes on, but then something to edit from. The plan doesn't necessarily need to be carved in stone, and I'd recommend that it isn't. But having a conversation with myself, I have 18 other colleagues at Velocity who do a similar role, have conversations with us and like let's just sit down and essentially roundtable what's going on and what ideal state could look like because then you can back into it and then what's also really helpful is that all of that expenditure doesn't necessarily come at one time. There's opportunity to back into it, to carve off a little piece at a time as time goes by, but the companies who are going to do really well into the future are those who are asking questions about how they can see areas of their company better now.
Definitely. Beth, the next time you're in Chattanooga, mozzarella on me, but also got to make sure that we do the collaboration here when it comes to mozzarella and freight. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Looking forward to seeing that connection.
Awesome. Awesome. Again, Beth Young with Velocity. Beth, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. So good to see you as always.
As always, thank you guys so much. Again, Beth Young with Velocity, and we're going to transition right now because this guy is bringing some serious heat and some serious fire to the freight game. The CEO and founder of Forever Freight Broker, Trent Hello. Y'all, social media is crazy because you are literally a DM away from being on a show. Trent, you have the best teeth that have ever been on What the Truck. What is up, man?
What's up, man? Nice to meet you, man. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing? It's nice to meet you too.
Yeah, I've never had a bad day in my life, man. I'm doing good, man. I'm
I
doing
love
good.
that. I love that, man. Glass, it could always be worse. You know, what if it all works out? That's something I live by. So I get it,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to talk to you, man, because you've built a big following, right? Like this is a movement that you are building, and what is the core message that you're trying to make? Because a lot of people don't really know your backstory, and I want you to give us kind of the who, what, when, how, all the details of just the why Forever Freight Broker. Because it seems like a lot's happening right now, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like I'm the only one doing what I'm doing at this point. Um, as you know, I mean, you're an ex freight broker, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm an ex
Okay.
freight
Well,
broker. Yeah,
well, you know, man, the trucks kind of hate us, right? So
for sure.
we're the truck driver's favorite freight broker, I would say. And the reason why I think I have such a passion for the trucks, and most brokers don't, which is crazy because you're the backbone of the industry. Um, my dad was a truck driver and lost his business to bad brokers, right? So that's what got me into the industry. I skipped college, got right into the industry, and wanted to learn why he lost his business. He had a trucking company, and I learned that like brokers are just cutting people down. I mean, these guys are getting nothing, but the brokers are just at a laptop,
Yeah,
making all this money. When in
yeah,
reality, to make your business more profitable, you should probably take care of the drivers so they can take care of your shippers, right? That's how you build
absolutely.
a good business. Well, they, I mean, these larger corporations are just hiring kids that don't care about the drivers. Um, so I opened up a brokerage after learning everything. And of course doing it the right way, but I felt that I had more to tell the industry. So I opened up Forever Freight Broker, mainly to teach truck drivers how to cut the middleman out or educate themselves on the brokering industry. Because if you can't beat them, then just become them. Stop waiting for these transparency laws because, like, if they do pass, are they going to be transparent or are they going to find ways to get around it? Learn the brokering side. This is the solution to your problems. But most people don't want to teach, right? Most of the brokers think it's contradicting to the business, but it's not. There's so much opportunity out there. Most brokers just don't know where to find it, really. Like most brokers are either looking in the wrong areas or saying the wrong things and they blame the market. See, for me, I have a prime example of why the market isn't bad and you know, I can explain that. So,
Talk to us. Yeah,
you know how like going into Florida, right, pays like really good,
yeah,
right? But going out pays like crap. You know
yes,
why? Because it's covered by water. It's a peninsula, right? You can't go left, you can't go right, can't go down. There's one way out. So the truck drivers think it's the market. Oh man, the brokers, they're paying me bad or the loads are paying bad, but in reality, you only got one way out, so the brokers take advantage and they make all the money,
for
right?
sure.
So what I'm trying to say here is if you're a trucker or if you're somebody out there that feels like the market is bad and there's no other solution and you're going to lose your business, there is a solution to that. It's learn what the brokers are doing so that you can make that profit yourself. Or at least, because I help people open up their own brokerages that own trucking companies or just learn the brokering side so they can stop getting screwed.
Now, Trent, talk to me a little bit about because there is obviously a disconnect when it comes to brokers and truckers. You know, me, I always, every single time, every single shipment, I was honestly probably too nice to truckers because I legitimately cared. Like how I act right now
Yeah.
is not a facade. Like I really do, give a damn about who I'm working with. But also, what is that divide when it comes to a broker versus a trucker? Because I mean, that is quote unquote what I want you to go into as we kind of talk about what the cancer of this is right now.
Well, I would say that most bigger brokerages, I don't like to say any names,
Yeah.
but they camp out near college campuses and they hire kids that just want to make $1 million overnight, right? They're there for a few months, they get a few customers, they screw a bunch of drivers, and then they get out, right? They don't really care about the industry. They don't know what the trucker has to do. They don't know that throwing tarps is heavy and it's exhausting. They don't know that they should be paying detention, but they don't because they want to make the check. Um, like the divide is putting people in the industry that don't care or don't understand the trucking side. They just are there for to make money, right? And I'm sure you can probably, uh, you know, go off of that. Being a broker, you probably see people around you. You're like, oh man, you're not doing it for the right reason. You're
Yeah, for
simply here
sure.
for the money.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, yeah, money's great, but it's like, you know what's better? Having longevity.
Yeah.
Like if you're getting into this business for longevity, you want to take care of the drivers
Yeah.
and you want to take care of the shippers. So that's easier for you and it's almost a residual income for yourself so that you have more volume and it runs
No,
itself.
100%. I agree with that. It's something you said that I want you to touch on because it is about longevity when it comes to this game specifically. And I think that, I mean, to your point, I would be a liar right now if I told you like, hey, like I've camped out of a college campus and I've gotten a college student to commit, knowing that hey, they're probably not going to last, but I needed to make numbers myself. Like that has happened. But also, it's like on the front end, if you were trained properly to be like, hey, like we don't treat truck drivers or carriers a certain way and here's the consequences for doing that. That's where I think different organizations are missing the mark. It's not necessarily a recruiting issue, but I think it's more so training, learning, and development, which that is on the organization. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's I'm glad you brought that up, man. And that is very, very true. I mean, I've at my earlier stages, worked for larger corporations, smaller corporations, but the larger ones are just like, man, they're beating on the tables like, cut the drivers down, cut the drivers down. And it is sickening. That was really the main reason why I got out of that part and opened up my own brokerage. Like, I wasn't even really getting into the industry to open up my own brokerage. But when I started seeing like stuff like that, I was like, man, I got to make a change, This is ridiculous. And yeah, man. I mean, eh, yeah, yeah. Just it's sickening.
No, definitely it is, and I've seen it happen. I mean, we're going to continue to see it happen. What I love what you're doing though specifically is because we talked about diagnosing the cancer, but the cure is very simple. You are now kind of infusing the market when it comes to brokerages with truckers, so that this can actually be a two-in-one type deal. Walk us through the process. If I'm a trucker, how are you enabling me to become a broker and to kind of change my life when it comes to this industry?
Yeah. So Forever Freight Broker, it's pretty. It's different than most like training courses. I know training course has a bad name, um, but for us, it's more of a mentorship. So whenever I teach these truckers, I sit down with them the first time they sign up for me. Right? It's they have me for a lifetime. By the way, I don't know if you knew that, but they have me for a lifetime. I'm always there to help them because I know that there will always be something going on. This industry, you learn something every single day. Um, and my hands-on training allows me to like break down their business and figure out what they need to do and how to beat their goals as far as like if they want to open up their own brokerage or just learn what the brokers are doing so that they can avoid getting screwed, which is teaching them the systems, how brokers are finding rates, figuring out what this commodity is probably going to pay more, so we should probably focus on this area. So placing them in the right area to make more money is probably the most important part because a lot of the times they're just looking in the wrong areas. So, um, you know, teaching these truck drivers, I don't only just, give them hands on training, but I give them like the blueprint to open up their own brokerage. They learn how to lead generate properly. I show them how to, quote properly, how to negotiate with the customers, of course, create the urgency, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get too much into that. But, you know, in reality, it's like people are like, man, I want the scripts. I want the scripts. But it's really not about the script. I would say it's more so about how are you speaking to these people,
Yeah.
right? Like, like they say shippers are like not, bringing me in. It's probably because you're not speaking their language, or, you know, having the right tone is really important as well, because this industry is built off a relationship. I mean, 75% of being a good broker is simply just being a normal person,
I
right?
agree.
They
I agree.
they treat these people like they're in a golden chair, but they're just like you and I. Um, that's most of, why people aren't good, is because they're ripping through a script rather than really figuring out what this industry has to offer, understanding the industry, understanding the solutions to their problems, and really helping their business, you know, rather than, hey, do you have freight? Hey, do you have freight? Like there's so much
Yeah.
more to it.
Yeah, there is a lot more to it. I'm glad that you made that gesture because I've seen it and I'm laughing because 8 years ago I
I,
was
I,
that
I know
guy.
you know.
So it's like I get it. Now, can you share some misconceptions, because this sounds great, right? It sounds almost too good to be true. So like, what are some misconceptions that oftentimes are holding people back from kind of diving into this with you? What are some misconceptions there?
I would say that for the most part, um, as you know, like my social media is growing and growing and growing. And there are a lot of people that, like truckers, that really want to like get in with me, but it costs money. And for some reason, people would rather go and learn from YouTube and then waste years of trying to figure out something that they're probably not going to figure out, than invest in someone that is actually running a brokerage. Like I own my own brokerage, Vanguard
Yeah,
Logistics, and then I own Forever Freight Broker as well. Um, I think that people are just scared to invest because this industry has treated them so poorly. It's almost like a dog that's been beaten. It's just going to try and bite everybody, right?
definitely. Yeah,
People have to realize that, like, the reason why, like, we are probably the top ones in this industry that's doing it the right way. We have a location in Tampa. I know that's not, crazy, but I wouldn't put my address online if I was doing something, scammy. We're accredited with Better Business Bureau. We have partnership with Truck Stop. Like, they wouldn't partner with someone that's not doing the right things, of
no
course.
doubt.
Um, I mean, we have a lot of proof, uh, tons of testimonials, tons of trucking companies that we've helped build their own brokerages and get out of the rut that they're in to save their trucking company. But I would say the main thing is just, a lot of people are losing money, so they're scared to spend money. And man, they need it more than ever. So uh for me, I try to give out as much information, like quality information through my social media, without giving away everything, because obviously my time's valuable, your time's valuable. But I want to work directly with these people because I know their solutions, and it takes more than just, you know, 60-second reel. But for me, I'm going to try and put as much information on my platforms as I can to help these truck drivers. That's my main, mission. And, I'm sure I'm going to get it done.
Trent Tello, again, CEO and founder of Forever Freight Broker. Trent, thank you so much, man, for coming on the show. I really enjoyed it. I wish we had more time because I have like 15
Ah,
more
man.
questions to ask you. You're going to have to come back on the show, man.
I'd love to, man. I'd love to. Thank you for having me.
Of course, brother. We'll definitely set it up again. Trent Tello, CEO and founder of Forever Freight Broker. Y'all, that was a jam-packed show. I know we moved a million miles a minute, but the road ahead is going to be even sweeter and even better. Coming up this Friday, we're going to have Bill Cantania in the building from One Rail, as well as Michael Caney. Money Mike is in the building from Highway. Y'all, I told you guys, it's a star-studded week here, and it's going to be some stars in Chattanooga next week because F3 is on the horizon. I have made this abundantly clear. If you're not here, I don't know why. You have not been listening to the show. You don't like me. You think I'm ugly. I don't know, but you need to be here October 21st and the 22nd. 50 spots are currently still open when it comes to this lovely discount that we have. Make sure you guys are checking us out on all platforms at What the Truck. I'm your host, Malcolm Harris. This hat is awesome, bad to the bone. Shout out to Bad Dad Hat Company, Bad Day Hat Company. Try to give you guys some free promo. I will see you guys on Friday. Peace.